I want to start by telling you a story that still gives me chills every time I think about it, because it proves something most older adults have been told their entire lives is simply not true. A woman in her 80s, living quietly in the Deep South, wrote a letter that changed the way thousands of people think about their bodies. She had never done an Asian squat in her life. She did not grow up in a culture where people sat low to the ground, and she certainly did not believe at her age that her body could relearn a movement she had lost decades ago. But she made a promise to herself. She said if she could get down into that deep squat, she would send a small reward as a thank you. One day she tried again after practicing the right exercises, and for the first time in 80 years, she sat down into that position and stayed there. And then she mailed a check for $100 with a short handwritten note, and at the end of it, she wrote two simple words that hit harder than anything else I have read in my 25 years of working with older adults. She wrote, "I am 80. That one moment destroys the belief that you are too old to learn this. You are not too old. Your body is not done. You simply have not been shown the right way yet." And before we go any deeper, I want to invite you to be part of this with me because your voice matters. Go ahead and type your age and where you are watching from. I read every single comment, and it helps me guide you with the care and precision you deserve. Let us begin. Older adults tell me all the time that they are too old for this movement or that their joints are too worn down to ever squat again, and I always remind them that this belief did not come from their bodies, it came from the people around them. This is what I call the physically feeble fallacy, the idea that because many seniors cannot do something, you should not even bother trying. Doctors often reinforce it because they are not trained in movement mechanics. They spend 5 minutes with you, they do not evaluate how your ankles move or how your hips load, and because they do not have a practical plan to help you rebuild the pattern, it is easier and safer for them to say no than to offer a solution. They are protecting themselves from risk, from liability, and from the uncomfortable truth that your movement problems do not fit neatly into a prescription pad. Family members repeat it too because they love you and they are afraid of seeing you get hurt, so they warn you away from anything that looks challenging, not realizing that avoiding challenge is what weakens the body in the first place. But none of it comes from your actual ability. It comes from a culture built around chairs. We sit to work, eat, rest, and live. We stop bending deeply, and the body simply adapts to the environment it is given. Over decades, that natural deep flexion in your hips, knees, and ankles was put on pause, not erased. The joints did not lose the capacity, they just stopped being asked to use it. And when a movement has been paused for 40 or 50 years, it is easy to mistake unfamiliar for dangerous. That is why so many people believe they are incapable. Not because their body cannot do it, but because their daily life never required them to keep the skill alive. In parts of the world where people live close to the ground, they squat every day into their 70s and 80s because the environment keeps the pattern alive. They are not genetically different. Their muscles and joints are not younger than yours. They simply never stop practicing the ranges of motion that Western culture gradually removed. Your body is no different. It still adapts. It still responds. You did not lose the ability because you aged. You lost it because you stopped using it. And the moment you begin practicing again, even slowly, the body wakes up in ways that surprise people every single day. Nothing is broken. You are not past your expiration date. You are simply someone who can relearn what was never truly lost. Let me share 3 stories that I wish every older adult could hear because they rewrite everything you think you know about what your body can and cannot do. The first story is not about someone in their 70s or 80s. It is about someone in their 20s who should have been at the peak of their mobility, someone who could not even get into a squat anymore. His hips were stiff, his knees were sore, his back felt rickety, and touching his toes was a struggle. He was in his 20s yet moving like someone 3 times his age. But here is what makes this story powerful. In his 40s, he could do more than he ever could as a teenager. After years of training the right muscles and rebuilding the mechanics he had lost, he proved that the ability to squat does not belong to the young. It belongs to the people who practice the right things. And if someone who had already fallen apart in their 20s could rebuild themselves in their 40s, then what does that say about you? It says your body still listens. It still adapts. It still learns. The second story is the one that touched me the most Because it came in a small envelope with a handwritten note. A woman living in the Deep South promised herself that if she ever got into a deep squat, she would send a thank you. She had no background in this movement. She did not grow up in a place where people sat low to the ground. She was not Asian. She did not believe she would ever get there. But she practiced anyway. One day she eased herself down and realized she was actually doing it. She stayed there, in a position she thought belonged only to younger people or people from different cultures. She kept her promise and mailed a check for $100. At the bottom of her note, she added two words that still stop me in my tracks. I am 80. Those two words are a reminder that your age is not the barrier you think it is. If an 80-year-old woman with no history of squatting could learn this movement for the first time in her life, then your body is capable of far more than you give it credit for. The third story comes from looking around the world. If you visit India or China or Vietnam or any place where people still live close to the ground, you will see something different. You will see people of all ages dropping into a deep squat as naturally as sitting in a chair. You will see older adults resting in that position for long periods of time without strain. And the reason is simple. They use that pattern every day. They do not lose it because their environment never takes it away from them. In the West, we stop practicing natural movement as soon as we start sitting in chairs. We stop bending our ankles deeply. We stop asking our hips to fold fully. We stop challenging our knees. We stop squatting. Not because we cannot, but because we do not. That is the real difference. Your body does not lose this ability because of age. It loses it because it has been put on pause for decades. And the best part is, pauses can be undone. These stories all point to one truth. You are not too old. You are simply out of practice. And once you understand that, the whole world opens up again. When we look at why most older adults struggle with the deep squat, it has nothing to do with the number of candles on a birthday cake and everything to do with how the body has been used or not used over the years. The first thing I want you to understand is that your ankles play a huge role here. To sit into a deep squat, your shin has to glide forward toward the foot. That motion is called dorsiflexion, and if the muscles in the back of your lower leg have tightened from years of sitting in chairs and never bending deeply, you simply cannot get the angle you need. It is not age. It is lack of practice. Then we look at the calves and the tibialis anterior. These muscles are supposed to work together like a team. The calves need to lengthen and still be strong enough to push into the floor, while the tibialis anterior helps pull the knee forward. But when the calves get tight and the tibialis stays weak, you end up stuck. You lean forward, you lose balance, and your body tells you this movement is impossible, when in reality, the muscles just are not ready yet. And then there are the foot muscles, the ones that grip the ground and stabilize your entire body. If they have been asleep for decades because your feet spend most of the day inside shoes and never get the chance to flex or grab the ground, they cannot give you the steady base you need. A deep squat requires the feet to behave like strong roots, not soft cushions. Your hips and knees add another layer to the story. To get into a deep squat, those joints have to fold into angles you simply have not explored in years. Chairs stop you halfway. Toilets stop you halfway. Most daily tasks stop you halfway. So your body adapts by losing the deeper ranges because it thinks you no longer need them. That loss is not permanent. It is just unused. And here is the good news, the part I want you to really take in. Every single one of these limitations is trainable. Your ankles can relearn how to bend. Your calves and tibialis anterior can get stronger. Your feet can wake up. Your hips and knees can open again. Your body did not lose this because of age. It lost it because the environment you lived in never asked you to keep it. And once we start asking for the right things in the right way, your body will respond. It always does. What all of this means is actually far more encouraging than most people realize. The challenge you have with the deep squat is not a sign that your body is too old or too worn out. It is simply the result of muscles and joints that have not been asked to do these things in a very long time. And when something has not been practiced, it does not disappear, it just goes quiet. Once you bring the right muscles back into the conversation, your body starts responding quickly, no matter how many decades have passed. So now that you understand the real reason behind the struggle, let us shift from wondering whether you can do this to building the foundation that makes it possible. I will walk you through the exact exercises that wake up your ankles, strengthen your lower legs, and teach your feet and knees how to work together again. You and I are going to rebuild this step by step, and you will feel your confidence growing with every movement. Let us begin the work. The first exercise we are going to work on is called the knee bent calf stretch, and it is one of the most important movements for restoring the ankle dorsiflexion you need for a deep squat. I want you to use a small step, a curb, or even a sturdy book, anything that lets your heels drop below the level of your toes. Place the balls of your feet on the edge, and then gently bend your knees as if you were trying to sink your body downward. Keep your weight centered as you slowly let your heels fall toward the floor. This bent knee position is what makes the stretch different from the usual calf stretch because it targets the deeper muscles behind your ankle that have to lengthen for you to squat safely. As you hold this position, you should feel a steady pull through the backs of your calves and down toward your Achilles. Not a sharp pain, but a satisfying stretch that tells you those tissues are finally being asked to move again. If you feel wobbly, you can lightly hold a counter or the back of a chair for balance. Take your time and let the muscles open gradually. For adults over 60, the key is to avoid bouncing or rushing. Move into the stretch slowly, hold it for 30 to 60 seconds, and keep your breathing calm. Your goal is not to force your body into a deeper angle, but to give those tight lower leg muscles the consistent, gentle pressure they have been missing for years. This stretch sets the stage for everything that comes next, because without this angle, your body will always feel like it is tipping backward when you try to squat. Let the heels drop, let the calves lengthen, and let your joints remember the movement they once had. The second exercise builds directly on the stretch you just felt, and it is called the full range bent knee calf raise. This is where we begin to teach the calves not only to lengthen, but to produce force while the knees are bent, which is exactly what your body needs to keep you steady as you lower into a deep squat. I want you to use the same step or block you used a moment ago. Place the balls of your feet on the edge and keep your knees softly bent just like before. From this position, let your heels drop down into that deep stretch, then press through the balls of your feet and slowly lift your heels as high as you comfortably can. Do not rush this. The magic of this exercise comes from moving through the entire range with full control. You rise up with intention, then lower slowly back into that long, deep stretch, letting the calves work from both ends. You may need to shift your feet slightly until you find a stance that feels steady and balanced. Lightly hold a counter or chair if you need a little support. As you move, focus on feeling the muscles in your lower legs doing the work instead of letting momentum carry you. For adults over 60, the goal is to create smooth, powerful motion, not quick repetitions. Aim for 15 to 30 slow, controlled reps, depending on your current strength. If your calves begin to burn or fatigue earlier than that, that is perfectly fine. Stop when your form slips, rest, and come back when you are ready. The point is not to power through discomfort, but to gently challenge those muscles until they wake up and remember how to support you. When done consistently, this exercise makes a remarkable difference in your stability, especially at the bottom of the squat where you need your calves to stay strong even when they are fully lengthened. Let each rep build strength, confidence, and control. You are teaching your body to support you again. The next exercise is a little different because it challenges your ankles and calves in a way that brings you much closer to the mechanics of a real deep squat. This one is often called the toe squat, and it gives you a higher intensity version of what you have already been practicing. But we begin with the simple version so your body feels supported every step of the way. Start by holding onto a counter, a sturdy chair, or even the wall. Bring your feet about hip-width apart and rise up onto the balls of your feet so your heels lift away from the floor. From here, gently bend your knees and lower yourself as if you are trying to sit down while staying on your toes. You do not need to go far. Your goal is to feel the stretch in your calves while teaching your ankles to stay strong in this raised position. Let your heels drift downward toward the floor at the bottom and then slowly lift yourself back up. This is the beginner version, and the support from your hands gives your body the reassurance it needs to explore the motion without fear of tipping. As you build strength and stability, you can move to the advanced version. For this one, you stay on the balls of your feet without holding on to anything and work through the same pattern, lowering yourself slowly, letting the heels sink toward the ground, then rising back up with controlled effort. This version demands much more from the small stabilizing muscles in your feet and ankles, the same ones that help you stay balanced in the deepest part of the squat. If you feel unsteady at any point, go back to the supported version. There is no rush and no competition here. What matters is that you maintain balance safely. Keep your core gently engaged, let your eyes settle on something steady in front of you, and allow your weight to spread evenly across the balls of your feet. The more you practice this, the more grounded and confident your whole lower body will feel. This exercise not only strengthens the calves and ankles, but also teaches your body how to control those deep angles without collapsing, giving you a solid foundation for the next steps of your squat journey. The next muscle we need to wake up is one that most older adults never think about, yet it plays a huge role in your ability to get your knees forward in a deep squat. It is the tibialis anterior, the muscle along the front of your shin, and when it is weak, your body feels like it hits a wall every time you try to lower yourself. The simplest way to train it is with seated toe lifts. Sit on a sturdy chair with your knees bent and both feet flat on the floor. From here, lift the front of your feet so your toes and the tops of your feet pull upward toward your shins. Hold that position for a second or two, and then lower slowly. You are not just tapping the toes up and down. You are creating real tension in the front of the shin, asking that muscle to work in a way it probably has not worked in years. The more you hold that top position, the more you will feel that deep burn right along the front of the shin. That feeling means the muscle is finally waking up. This time under tension is what gives you the best results, because this muscle needs endurance and control, not quick jolts. You can keep doing reps until you feel that satisfying fatigue, whether that is 10 repetitions or 20. When you are ready to make it harder, you can do two things. You can add a small weight like a book or a light dumbbell across the top of your foot and lift against it, or you can straighten your legs a little and elevate your heels so the angle gets closer to what you feel in a real squat. Some people even use a resistance band or a tib bar, but you do not need any of that to start. As long as you can feel the front of your shin working and you can hold that top position without rushing, you are doing it right. This exercise teaches your knees how to glide forward safely instead of locking in place, and that simple change makes a dramatic difference in how stable you feel as you move deeper into the squat. Your body remembers this pattern quickly, and every rep brings you closer to the control you need. The last group of muscles we need to wake up are the ones most people overlook completely, the muscles along the bottom of your feet and the small flexors that move your toes. These muscles are your foundation. They grip the ground, keep you steady, and give you the ability to control your balance in the lowest part of the squat. When they are weak, your whole body feels unstable, no matter how strong your legs are. To start, sit comfortably with your feet flat on the floor. Lift the front of your feet just a little so your toes are free, then press your toes down into the ground as if you were trying to grab the floor. Hold that contraction for a moment and slowly release. This toe flexor activation teaches the bottom of your foot to create the downward force you need to stay grounded. You may feel a strange, deep burn or even a little cramping at first. That is normal, and it is a sign those small muscles are finally waking up. As you get more comfortable, you can work on single toe strength. Use your fingers to gently resist one toe at a time as you try to curl it downward. Most people discover very quickly that some toes are much weaker than others. That is completely okay. The goal is not perfection. The goal is awareness and strength. By challenging each toe, you teach the foot to support you more evenly, which makes balancing in the squat far easier. If you experience foot cramping, pause, shake your feet out, and then return when the muscles relax. Cramping is simply your foot saying, "This is new for me." Over time, those cramps fade, and you will feel stronger and more in control. These tiny muscles make a big difference. When your toes know how to grip the floor and your foot can generate force downward, your entire lower body becomes more stable. This is what allows you to stay balanced in deep angles without feeling like you are tipping or falling forward. Every rep builds a steadier foundation for the movement you are trying to regain. Now, before we move into the final part of your practice, I want to give you two simple adjustments that can make the deep squat feel instantly more achievable. These are the same tricks I teach my older patients when they feel stuck or frustrated, and they can change the way your body experiences this movement right away. The first one is to turn your toes outward just a little. When your feet point straight ahead, your ankles need a much larger amount of dorsiflexion to let your knees move forward. But when you angle your toes out even slightly, it reduces that demand, and suddenly your body has more room to move. It lets your knees glide into a more natural path and takes some of the pressure off the back of your ankles. This is not cheating. It is smart biomechanics, and it is how many people around the world naturally squat every day. The second trick is using a small amount of heel elevation. You can place your heels on a folded towel, a book, or a low block, and this gives you extra space to practice the squat without being limited by tight calves or stiff ankles. Over time, as your mobility improves, you can gradually lower the height until you no longer need it. Think of this as giving your body a stepping stone instead of asking it to leap all at once. These two adjustments help you feel stable, safe, and successful right from the start. And when your body feels supported, it learns faster, builds confidence more easily, and stays on track with the changes you are trying to make. When you start rebuilding this movement, something surprising happens long before you ever reach the full depth of the Asian squat. You begin to feel more independent in the everyday moments that matter. Getting up from a low chair feels smoother because your knees and ankles finally know how to share the work again. Reaching down to pick something off the floor stops feeling like a risky maneuver and starts feeling like something your body is actually prepared for. Movements that used to make you hesitate become movements you do with confidence because your legs have learned how to support you in deeper ranges. As your calves, shins, and feet grow stronger, you also notice a change in the way your knees and hips feel. When those joints are supported by muscles that know how to lengthen and contract through their full range, the pressure inside the joint starts to ease. Many older adults tell me they feel less stiffness in the morning and more comfort when they take longer walks. The deep squat itself is not the goal. The goal is the comfort and freedom it brings back into the joints you rely on every day. And then there is one of the most important benefits of all: stronger ankles. When your ankles learn how to bend, stabilize, and carry your weight through unusual angles, your body becomes far more resistant to falls. Most falls happen because the ankle cannot react fast enough to a shift in balance. But when the muscles are awake and the joint is trained, your reaction time improves and your stability increases dramatically. This kind of training protects you in real life, whether you are stepping off a curb, turning quickly in the kitchen, or walking on uneven ground. Every part of this practice builds a foundation that supports your independence, your comfort, and your safety. And as you continue to improve, you will start to feel a quiet kind of strength returning, the kind that makes daily life easier and reminds you that your body is still capable of far more than you once believed. As we wrap up today, I want you to take a moment and really sit with what your body just did. Every stretch you felt and every small burn you worked through is proof that your body still learns. It still adapts. It still responds no matter how many years have passed. I have spent more than 25 years working with adults in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, and I can tell you with complete confidence that age does not close the door on movement. The only thing that ever closes that door is the belief that change is no longer possible. And today, you challenge that belief. You did the work. You showed your ankles how to bend again. You reminded your calves that they can support you. You taught your feet and shins how to come back online. And you gave your body permission to relearn a pattern it once lost. That is powerful. Before you go, I would love to hear what part of this routine surprised you the most. Maybe it was the stretch that felt deeper than you expected. Maybe it was the moment you realized your balance was better than you thought. Or maybe it was simply the feeling that your body is not done yet. Share your progress in the comments because your story encourages someone else who might be watching and wondering if they should try. And if you found this helpful, I would be grateful if you subscribed so you can keep building strength and confidence with me week after week. These small steps add up faster than you think. Keep starting small, keep showing up, and keep trusting that every bit of effort you put in is giving your future self a stronger, safer, more independent life. I am proud of the work you did today, and I hope you carry that feeling with you long after this video ends. Your best movement is still ahead of you.